So in this video, we're going to be talking about the law of cosines. So what the law of cosines is basically if you have two of the sides of a triangle and you know what the angle in between them is. Let's say you know A and B and theta, you can figure out the other side using this formula. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over the derivation of this formula. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a bigger triangle so we know it's easier to work with. Oops. Okay, close enough. Okay, so this is A, this is B, and this is C. Let's make, there we go. Okay, and this is theta. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drop an altitude from this vertex down to B. Right? So it's just a line that goes from here, touches this side, and it's perpendicular to it. Okay, and let's call this height H. So what we can do is first we're going to express side lengths A and C in terms of H, and then we're going to basically get rid of H and just express C in terms of A and B. Okay, so that's basically the plan. So first thing is, what is this side in terms of A and theta? Well, it's A cos theta, and I'll explain why. So let's call this side X. If we took the cosine of theta, we would get adjacent over hypotenuse. And if we multiplied A on both sides, we'd get, X equals A cosine theta. Okay? So this is just A cosine theta. And this would just be B minus A cosine theta. Okay? So I'm just gonna, just gonna make everything smaller so there's more space. Okay, so now that we know these two things, these two parts of B, we can use the Pythagorean theorem on each of these two right triangles. So what I mean is, so A squared is equal to this squared plus this squared, right? It's just the Pythagorean theorem. And C squared is equal to H squared plus B minus A cosine theta squared. Okay, so what you can do now is simplify everything first, and then substitute when you see terms that are terms that match up. So let's simplify the first equation, which is, it's not that much work. It's just squaring the second part. And this just means cosine of theta squared, like the quantity squared. And the second equation is just h squared plus, so you're gonna distribute or multiply this by itself, so we get b squared minus 2a cosine theta b plus a squared cosine squared theta. So now notice that a squared cosine squared theta plus h squared equals a squared. Okay, and we have those two terms here. right? So I'm gonna make everything smaller again. There we go. So now that we have these two equations, we can substitute these two terms for a squared, right? So c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2a cosine theta times b. And this is basically the law of cosines. All you have to do is rearrange the order of these terms to get it in the more traditional, the way that people will normally write it. So here it is, the law of cosines. So I hope you found that helpful, and see you in the next video.